Kai Havertz has the ball at his feet inside the box, and in one movement he slots it past the goalkeeper. The Emirates Stadium erupts. Less than half an hour of Premier League football has been played in this new season, and Arsenal already have the lead. This is the moment the champions needed. Not a nervy opening, not a scare against a newly promoted side, but a statement finish from a player who understands exactly what is required of him. Before this goal, there was tension in the air. Coventry City arrived at the Emirates Stadium with a loud away following, determined to make life difficult for the reigning champions. A shock result here would have overshadowed everything Arsenal built over the summer. It would have raised uncomfortable questions before the season had barely started. Instead, Havertz settled the nerves, and what followed turned into a demonstration of exactly why Arsenal are the team to beat this year. Here is what was genuinely at risk. Arsenal were walking into their first competitive match of the new campaign as defending champions, and history is full of examples of title holders stumbling on opening day against sides with nothing to lose. Coventry City, freshly promoted and playing under Frank Lampard, had every incentive to cause an upset in front of a national audience. A shock defeat or even a draw would have handed the rest of the league a psychological boost and given pundits an easy narrative about complacency creeping into the champions. There was also personal stakes involved. Bruno Guimaraes, one of the most talked about signings of the summer, was already ruled out through injury before a ball was kicked. That meant Arsenal had to prove they could still control a Premier League match without one of their most expensive new additions. Christos Tzolis, another significant summer arrival, was stepping into his first official Arsenal appearance, with pressure to justify the decision to sign him instead of pursuing other high-profile wingers. Every one of these threads carried real consequences depending on how the 90 minutes unfolded. If you want this kind of detailed, honest breakdown of every Arsenal story as it happens this season, this is exactly the channel for that. Hit that subscribe button now, because we are going to be doing this every single week, and you do not want to miss the analysis that actually explains what these results and these numbers mean for the club going forward. Let us walk through exactly what happened, because the story here is bigger than just a 3-0 scoreline. The match itself, Arsenal controlled this game from the very first whistle. Kai Havertz opened the scoring with a composed first-time finish after good recovery work from Christos Tzolis and a pass from Riccardo Calafiori. That goal alone tells you something important. This was not a moment created in isolation. It was a team move, built through pressing, through quick recovery of possession, and through a new signing already contributing directly to a goal on his full debut. The second goal followed a similar pattern. More outstanding work from Tzolis forced the ball into the penalty area, and Bukayo Saka was the man on the end of it, tapping home an easy finish. 2 goals, 2 different scorers, and one common thread running through both, the new winger causing problems that Coventry simply could not deal with. Just after half-time, Martin Odegaard made it 3. His finish came from his right foot and sent the goalkeeper the wrong way. Some might call it a fortunate strike given the trajectory, but fortune tends to find players who are in the right positions consistently, and Odegaard has built a career on exactly that kind of instinct. By full-time, Coventry's expected goals figure sat at just 0.28. In simple terms, that number tells you how few clear scoring chances Coventry actually created across the entire match. This was not a game where Arsenal rode their luck or hung on. It was total control from start to finish, and it marked the 5th consecutive season that Arsenal have won their opening Premier League fixture under Mikel Arteta. That kind of consistency at the very start of a campaign is not accidental. It reflects a squad and a manager who know exactly how to prepare for these moments. Why Odegaard remains the heartbeat of this team? There has been recurring speculation over the years about Arsenal eventually moving on from their captain and bringing in fresh legs in that number 10 role. What happened against Coventry should put that conversation to rest for now. Odegaard did not just score. He was the player through whom almost every promising Arsenal move seemed to pass. He finished the match with 72 touches, completed 52 of 56 attempted passes, picked up 6 touches inside the opposition box, won 4 out of 4 ground duels, made 3 tackles, created 3 chances, and had 3 shots of his own, one of which found the net. That is not simply a good performance. That is a complete midfield display from a captain operating at the peak of his powers. He now sits ahead of Cesc Fabregas on Arsenal's all-time Premier League scoring list for the club, with 36 goals compared to Fabregas's 35. For a player whose primary job is creation rather than finishing, that statistic says everything about how his game has evolved. He is no longer just the man who unlocks defences with a pass. He has become a genuine goal threat in his own right, and he has now scored in back-to-back matches heading into the new campaign. Independent match ratings had him as the standout performer on the pitch, and the underlying numbers back that up completely. When a captain delivers that level of output on opening day, It sends a message to the rest of the dressing room about standards for the entire season. Christos Tzolis, the name everyone is talking about. There was a great deal of noise throughout the summer about Arsenal's search for reinforcements on the left side of the attack. Even after Tzolis completed his move, Arsenal continued pursuing further additions in that area, including known interest in Vinicius Jr. Based on what has been shown so far, in the Community Shield and now in this Premier League opener, Tzolis looks like he is going to be the answer Arsenal were searching for all along. His involvement in the first half alone was remarkable. He recorded 33 touches, 7 of them inside the opposition box, won 4 individual duels, created 3 chances, won back possession 3 separate times, had 2 shots with 1 on target, and won 2 fouls for his team. No other player on the pitch had more touches inside the box or created more chances than him during that opening period. By full time, his numbers had grown to 4 shots, 2 shots on target, 3 chances created, an accurate cross, 81% passing accuracy, 51 total touches, and 8 touches inside the box, the most of anyone on the pitch. His overall rating from independent statisticians sat at 7.48, an outstanding mark for any debut, let alone one carrying this much external pressure. What stands out beyond the raw numbers is the pattern of involvement. He was directly involved in the build-up for both of the first 2 goals. That is not the profile of a player easing himself into a new league. That is a player who arrived ready, who understood the system immediately, and who looked comfortable creating danger from the very first minutes. Comparisons are already being drawn to previous Arsenal wingers who combined intelligent movement with genuine end product. And on this evidence, those comparisons do not look exaggerated. The Ben White situation. Not every story from this match was straightforward, and Ben White's position at the club is a clear example of that complexity. He was excellent again on the night, continuing the strong form he carried through the end of last season. He picked up an assist, setting up Martin Odegaard for the 3rd goal, and his overlapping runs down the right side were a consistent outlet throughout the 90 minutes. His performance rating reflected that, sitting among the highest on the pitch alongside Odegaard. The complication is not about his form, it is about numbers in that position. With Ezri Konsa now signed and Jurrien Timber also working his way back into contention, Arsenal suddenly have serious depth and competition at right back and in that general defensive area. White did absolutely nothing on the pitch to justify losing his place, but squad depth decisions are rarely made purely on merit alone. There will need to be difficult conversations between the manager and his backroom staff about how minutes get distributed once every option is fully fit and available. It would not be a surprise if White's situation becomes a genuine talking point before the transfer window closes, even though his performance against Coventry gave Arteta no obvious reason to leave him out. The Bruno Guimaraes situation. One of the more sobering parts of the build-up to this match concerned Bruno Guimaraes, who was left out of the squad entirely. Mikel Arteta confirmed the reason afterwards, explaining that Guimaraes was carrying a slight tension in his groin. Crucially, Arteta pointed out that the Brazilian midfielder had not completed a proper pre-season with the club, having joined only shortly before the Community Shield fixture. He had just 4 or 5 days of preparation before featuring in that game against Manchester City in Cardiff. Guimaraes actually played the second half of a friendly against Como and then started the Community Shield match itself, performing well in both appearances before being substituted at half-time against City. Supporters watching closely noticed an ice pack wrapped around his leg as he walked to the bench, which raised early concerns about his fitness. Arteta's comments confirmed that those concerns were valid, and the club is now managing his return carefully rather than rushing him back into contention. There is currently no official timeline for his return, though outside reporting has suggested he could be sidelined for a period described as a few weeks. Until Arsenal provide something more specific, that time frame should be treated as an estimate rather than confirmed fact. For a squad already dealing with plenty of positional competition, losing a new signing to injury before he has even made his Premier League debut is a setback worth watching closely over the coming weeks. Now let us go through what supporters and analysts are saying. Moment by moment, there has been a wave of reaction across social media following this result, and some of it adds real context to everything we have just covered. I want to go through these one at a time, share exactly what is being said, and then give you my own read on why it matters. The first point of discussion compares Tzolis to 2 previous Arsenal wingers, describing him as having the technical security and clinical finishing of one combined with the pace and mobility of the other. The suggestion is that his superior physical attributes allow him to create separation more consistently and attack space more effectively than either of those 2 comparisons managed individually. The observation also highlights his work rate and his hunger to constantly demand the ball, even drifting toward the opposite flank when the ball is on the right side. My analysis on this. Comparisons like this can sometimes be premature after a single debut performance, but in this case, the underlying data actually supports the claim rather than contradicting it. 7 touches in the opposition box and 3 chances created inside a single half is an elite level of attacking involvement for any winger, let alone one playing his first official match. If he sustains even 70% of this output across a full season, Arsenal have unquestionably found their long-term left-sided answer. The second point of discussion is a simple statistical milestone. Martin Odegaard has now scored more Premier League goals for Arsenal than Cesc Fabregas managed during his time at the club. My analysis on this. Fabregas is remembered as one of the great creative midfielders in Arsenal's modern history, so overtaking his scoring total is a significant marker of how Odegaard's game has developed. He has transformed from a pure creator into a genuine dual threat, and that evolution is exactly the kind of development a title-winning team needs from its captain. The third point of discussion is Arteta's own explanation for Guimaraes missing out, describing a slight groin tension and the lack of a proper pre-season as the reasons behind the decision to leave him out entirely, with the club stating they need to bring him along carefully. My analysis on this. This is a responsible approach from the coaching staff. Rushing a major summer signing back before he is physically ready risks turning a short-term issue into a long-term one. Managing him bit by bit, as Arteta describes it, is the correct medical approach, even if it means missing early fixtures. The fourth point of discussion confirms the final scoreline of 3-0, credits the 3 goal scorers, and notes that this represents Arteta's 5th consecutive season winning the opening match of the Premier League campaign. It also references Coventry's low expected goals figure of 0.28, while noting correctly that Coventry's season will not be defined by results against a team of Arsenal's quality. My analysis on this. The consistency of winning opening day fixtures across 5 straight seasons under one manager is genuinely rare in modern football, where squads change significantly year to year. It speaks to a stable culture and preparation process behind the scenes that goes well beyond just having better players on paper. The fifth point of discussion is about player of the match voting being open to the public, listing Odegaard, Tzolis, and Saka as the leading candidates, alongside the independent statistical rating, which had already placed Odegaard at the top of the match with a score of 8.3, ahead of Saka and Ben White, who were tied, and Havertz just behind them. My analysis on this. When a statistical rating system and public perception are closely aligned like this, it usually means the numbers are genuinely reflecting what people watched with their own eyes, rather than producing a surprising or contested outcome. Odegaard's performance was the standout by both measures. The sixth point of discussion is a milestone tracking how many games it took different managers to reach 150 wins in the Premier League, comparing Pep Guardiola, Jose Mourinho, Jurgen Klopp, Alex Ferguson, and Mikel Arteta, with Arteta needing 249 matches to get there. My analysis on this. It is worth being precise here. Of the 5 names on that list, Arteta actually required the most matches to reach the milestone, meaning in terms of pure speed to 150 wins, he sits behind the other 4. What that number does confirm, though, is that he has now joined a genuinely elite group of managers who have reached that win total in the Premier League at all, regardless of the exact pace. Reaching 150 wins in this competition, in any number of games, places him alongside some of the most successful managers the league has ever seen, and that context matters just as much as the ranking itself. The 7th point of discussion returns to Odegaard's individual numbers from the match, listing 72 touches, 52 out of 56 passes completed, 6 touches in the opposition box, 4 instances of winning back possession, 4 out of 4 ground duels won, 3 tackles, 3 chances created, 3 shots, 1 foul won, 1 shot on target, and 1 goal, along with the note that he has now scored in back-to-back matches. My analysis on this. Volume statistics like this only matter when they translate into genuine impact, and here they clearly did. A midfielder completing over 90% of his passes while also contributing defensively with 3 tackles and 4 duels won is doing far more than simply being the player who takes the eye-catching shot. This is complete, all-phase football from the captain. The 8th point of discussion is a visual heat map showing that no player had more touches inside the opposition box, 7 in total, or created more chances in the first half, 3 in total, than Christos Tzolis. My analysis on this. Heat maps can sometimes exaggerate a player's involvement simply through positioning, but when the raw chance creation numbers back up the visual, as they clearly do here, it confirms this was not a case of a player simply drifting into good areas without end product. He was directly influencing the outcome of the match from those areas. The 9th point of discussion breaks down Tzolis' first half numbers specifically. 33 touches, 7 touches in the opposition box, 4 duels won, 3 chances created, 3 separate instances of winning back possession, 2 shots, 2 fouls won, and 1 shot on target, describing it as a very impressive opening 45 minutes. My analysis on this. What stands out here is the balance between attacking output and defensive contribution. Winning back possession 3 times and winning 4 individual duels shows a player who is not simply a luxury attacking piece, but someone contributing to the team's overall structure and press. That balance is exactly what modern wide forwards need to provide. The 10th point of discussion is a statement released by the Kroenke ownership group ahead of the new season, stating that the goal now is to win more trophies, describing sustained success as one of the greatest challenges in sport, and confirming that the club is working hard in a number of ways to make that happen. My analysis on this. Ownership statements like this are often generic, but the specific reference to sustained success rather than simply chasing a single trophy suggests an awareness that winning once creates a different kind of pressure than winning for the first time. Defending a title requires a completely different mentality within a squad, and acknowledging that challenge publicly puts a level of accountability on the club's own decision-makers heading into this campaign. Now, this next point requires some careful framing, because unlike everything else we have covered so far, this is not confirmed information. This is speculation and reported conversation only, and I want to be completely clear about that distinction before going any further. The 11th point of discussion concerns ongoing transfer speculation around Julian Alvarez. According to reporting, Atletico Madrid's current position remains unchanged, meaning there has been no significant movement in their stance regarding a potential sale. It is understood that Barcelona have been waiting on a decision regarding Alvarez in recent days, but again, no real progress has been made on that front either. Separately, it is reported that Atletico Madrid's director was in London recently holding discussions about various transfer possibilities, including known interest in Nicolas Jackson, not exclusively Alvarez. Regarding Arsenal specifically, it is reported that a direct conversation did take place between Arsenal and Atletico Madrid regarding Alvarez, with Arsenal seeking to understand what the terms of a potential transfer might look like. It is also reported that Alvarez has been a long-standing target dating back to when he originally joined Atletico Madrid, and that Mikel Arteta has a clear personal admiration for the player. However, it is explicitly noted that Alvarez himself has not yet opened the door to a move to Arsenal, and Atletico Madrid continues to publicly insist that the player will be staying. The financial side remains entirely unresolved as well, since the fee Atletico would require has not been established. And it is stated plainly that nobody can currently claim this transfer is happening, because it depends entirely on price and on the player's own position going forward. My analysis on this, and I want to stress this again for clarity, everything in this section remains unconfirmed transfer speculation and should be treated as exactly that. What we do know is that contact has taken place between the two clubs, which on its own confirms genuine interest from Arsenal's side. What we do not know, and what nobody currently seems able to confirm, is whether Alvarez himself wants to leave Atletico Madrid, whether Atletico would even entertain a sale despite their public stance, or what kind of valuation would need to be met for any of this to move forward. Supporters should treat this purely as an early-stage story worth monitoring rather than anything close to an imminent transfer. The 12th and final point of discussion returns to Christos Tzolis, summarising his full debut numbers: 4 shots with 2 on target, 3 chances created, 1 accurate cross, 81% pass accuracy, 51 total touches, 8 touches inside the box, 2 clearances, 1 tackle, 1 aerial duel won, and an overall rating of 7.48. My analysis on this. Taking the full picture of his debut together, attacking output, defensive contribution, and passing accuracy all sitting at a high level simultaneously, this was about as complete a full debut as any new signing could realistically produce. There were no obvious weaknesses in his game on the night, and if this level of performance becomes anything close to a consistent standard, Arsenal's business in that position looks close to perfect business. Pulling all of this together, the picture that emerges from this opening match is one of a champion side that looked exactly like a champion side. Martin Odegaard delivered a captain's performance built on both creation and finishing. Christos Tzolis arrived with the kind of debut that immediately answers questions about Arsenal's business in the transfer market. Ben White continues to perform at a level that makes squad decisions genuinely difficult in the best possible way. Bruno Guimaraes remains a concern purely from a fitness standpoint, with the club taking a careful, measured approach to his return. The ownership has publicly committed to targeting sustained success rather than a single moment of glory, and there remains genuine, though entirely unconfirmed, interest in strengthening the squad further with a player of Julian Alvarez's caliber, should the circumstances around that situation ever change. None of this guarantees anything about how the rest of the season unfolds. One match against a newly promoted side, however convincing, is still just one match. But as opening statements go, this was about as complete and controlled a performance as any title holder could have asked for, and the underlying numbers across the pitch support that conclusion far more than the scoreline alone ever could. If this kind of detailed, honest, numbers-backed breakdown is what you want from your Arsenal content, make sure you are subscribed, because this channel is going to be covering every single fixture with this same level of depth throughout the entire season. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.